So hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of our Manor Racing series here on the channel on F123. Now if you didn't watch the last episode last Friday, go back and watch that one. Lewis Hamilton won the British Grand Prix, Max Verstappen P2, Sergio Perez P3, we were in P15. It was a bit of a nothing race for us, not our best by any stretch of the imagination. Ollie Caldwell again finishing stone dead last. What does that mean for the standings? Well, it means that Max Verstappen is leading the championship by just under 40 points from Lewis Hamilton. Checo Perez in the Red Bull is on 142 points, but it does look like it's a three-way fight between Verstappen, Hamilton and Checo Perez for the driver standings this year. In the constructors, it's around 60 points where Red Bull are leading, so all to play for as we come in to the final few races of this season. But let's have a little look at the R&D history as well, because going into this weekend we are in a much better place than we have been for the rest of this season. We are now above Williams, above Alpine, Haas, Alfa Romeo and Alfa Tauri, so we're really on the cusp of the top of the midfield now, which is very, very exciting for us, and hopefully Ollie Caldwell will appreciate that as well. R&D progress, we have got a major upgrade coming on the chassis very shortly. On the 25th of August, and then we've also got some weight distribution that's going to be coming on in a little while as well. This weekend we do head to Spa, as you can see on the screen. I believe this is a sprint weekend as well, so I'm going to get into practice and I'll see you for the qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. The qualifying for the sprint race is done. Checo Perez is on pole position from Max Verstappen, George Russell in P3 and Hamilton in P4. The Mercedes still looking very, very prominent at the moment. We are a little bit disappointed. We were 3/10 up going into the final bus stop chicane, and then we had a howler in that corner, costing us all the time, so we didn't improve. It would have put us up to around P10 and where Lance Stroll is, so a little bit disappointed there. But let's get to the sprint race now and see if we can improve, because we've got some pace this weekend.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Sainz, Norris, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Stroll, Bottas, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Lewis, Ocon, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Joe, Magnussen, Sargent, De Vries and Ollie Caldwell. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
So guys, welcome to the grid for the sprint race. Now, Ollie Caldwell, it's just not going very well for that lad, is it? The car is not as bad as he's making it out to be now, so I think towards the end of this season we are going to be getting a more experienced driver in, and Ollie Caldwell will be departing. But strategy-wise, I think there's only one thing to do here and go for the softs. They felt very nice in qualifying, they felt good in practice, so this is the dry race we're going to have. The full Grand Prix race on Sunday is going to be a little bit wet. We're very disappointed about that. However, I think we can make up some positions here. Could we even sneak a point in the sprint race? Let's have a look. Let's get to 5 red lights. So here we go then, guys. Sprint race at Spa. Dry weather. Here we go. What can we do here? Sergio Perez is going to lead us away from Max Verstappen. We're straight away going to ride on board with us as we look to the inside line. We've got a little bit of space down here, and we're going to make it practically 4 wide as we keep it down the inside here. There's a little bit of contact with Fernando Alonso, but we are up into P11 early doors here, and we've got Oscar Piastri just behind us. Oscar Piastri down our left-hand side. We've got to just sit in behind him at this moment. We don't want to be going side by side up Eau Rouge and ruining our race early doors, so therefore we decide to sit it in P12 and have a look if we can get him back shortly. But meanwhile, we've got Valtteri Bottas on the medium compounder tyre having a look down our inside. We take a nice line following Oscar Piastri through, and Bottas is side by side with Alexander Albon, but on the alternate type of tyre. Valtteri Bottas, we're not expecting him to be quick early doors, but he may come into it towards the end. Meanwhile, at the front, Checo Perez leads away. 0.5 of a second is the gap between him and his teammate teammate Max Verstappen. Hamilton on the back of Max Verstappen as well. We've got Russell in P4, Norris P5, Sainz in P6. That's the front-running group of cars at the moment. Pierre Gasly is a bit of a train driver at the moment and frustrating Charles Leclerc. Gasly already out of the DRS range of Carlos Sainz. Then comes Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and then we're down in P12 looking at Oscar Piastri, wondering if we're going to be able to make up a couple more positions early doors in this race. As we come to the end of lap 1, Checo Perez leads away. And coming on to lap 2, we are having a look at the back of Oscar Piastri and we think we can catch him napping here. We go down the inside, take a lot of curb there, and now we're in a straight drag race up towards Eau Rouge, but we've already got him done and we are up into P11. That was fantastic bit of work from us there. Into P11. Next up is Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin, and it's got to be said, this car is feeling particularly good so far this afternoon. Although we've got Oscar Piastri coming back at us now, will he be able to make a move on us here? As we go to the television view, we've just left him all the room we can possibly leave him, but we are still remaining in P11. Great work from us. P11. Perez is still leading from Verstappen. Norris now dropping out of the DRS of George Russell. Lap 2. Coming on to lap 3, and we are eyeing up the back of Fernando Alonso. Can we make a move here? We look to the right-hand side. Alonso covers it off. We then switch back to the left, trying to get around the outside of the Spaniard, and now it's a drag race once again, but the Aston Martin looks like it's got a little bit more pace and power than the McLaren possibly had a little bit earlier on as we are going up Eau Rouge, but Fernando Alonso's got us covered off. However, we will have DRS down this straight. Will we be able to get Fernando Alonso? We dart to the right hand side, looking to get this overtake done up into P10. We're a little bit later on the brakes. We try and leave Fernando as much room as we possibly can, but Fernando has done a little swap back of his own. He's now back up into P10, and it's compromised us a little bit now as we have got Oscar Piastri in our right-hand mirror. There's a little bit of contact there between ourselves and Oscar Piastri. He backs out of it, but we maintain P11, but fantastic racing from Fernando Alonso stays in P10. Meanwhile, at the front, we've got a change of leader as Max Verstappen has overtaken Checo Perez now. He's leading the Grand Prix from his teammate Lewis Hamilton, just sticking with the two Red Bulls. Russell as well, the Mercedes, putting up a strong showing so far here this afternoon. Carlos Sainz in P5, Norris P6, Gasly has dropped to position now. Leclerc managing to get past, he's in P7, but the damage was done early for Charles Leclerc. Gasly P8, Stroll P9, Alonso in P10, and we have now lost a place to Oscar Piastri as well. Not ideal for us. Into coming on to lap 4, Oscar Piastri gets a move done on us. Will we be able to make a move into the bus stop chicane? It doesn't look like we will. We're a little bit too far back. And on to the final lap of this sprint race. Max Verstappen is leading, but Checo Perez has got DRS on his teammate down the Kemmel Straight. Who will come out victorious here? We've got Max Verstappen defending aggressively. He will have the inside coming into this next corner. He covers off his teammate very, very well, it must be said. And Checo Perez will be a little bit disappointed that he couldn't use the DRS of that Red Bull to get past his teammate and possibly claim a win here. We're just having a little bit of a look further down. We've got Gasly and Alonso scrapping away for P9. Alonso got more pace than us, and we can see we are now back in front of Oscar Piastri. We've managed to get a move done on him up into P11. We'll take that all afternoon. That car of ours is looking incredibly mucky, it must be said. We're going to have to get a car wash on the break between today and tomorrow, but it's been a decent return for us so far this afternoon in P11. We aren't going to catch the cars in front, but it's all about defending from Oscar Piastri, and we'll watch the conclusion of this lap. Max Verstappen has got 0.4 of a second between himself and his teammate. It looks job done in terms of Verstappen winning this sprint race, but we have still got to defend from Oscar Piastri for a couple more corners just to ensure that we do get this position and get P11 for tomorrow's race. It's not the new format on this F123 game. We will start where we finish here in the sprint race, and Oscar Piastri is looking all over the back of us. We'll ride on board with Oscar Piastri as he breaks into the final bus stop chicane. We go a little bit wide. We have to defend effectively. We don't give him too much room, it must be said, but we do maintain P11. Not a bad return at all for us in this sprint race. So there we have it, guys. Max Verstappen getting the win there for Red Bull. Checo Perez P2, Hamilton in P3, then comes George Russell. We are pretty happy with that performance in P11. Couple of mistakes, possibly could have elevated us, into the top 10, but we're not too disappointed with that. So it's all to play for on a changeable conditions Grand Prix watch we're expecting on Sunday afternoon. Wet weather, we're not as good at that, but let's remain confident, and I think points are possibly on for us this weekend.
Welcome then as we take a step back into the nostalgic golden days of motorsport. Spa is unashamedly a throwback, and all the better for it. Climbs, drops, sharp turns, chicanes, sweeping high-speed corners, all while taking in some of the most beautiful scenery that Europe has to offer. This might sound like a travel brochure, but it's not. It's a race day. Welcome along to Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps is a 4.35-mile tour of the Ardennes countryside, with 9 rights and 10 lefts, giving us a grand total of 19 corners. Average lap speeds in the dry can reach about 145 miles per hour, but without a significant improvement in the conditions, we're not going to be seeing anything like that today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Lewis, Bottas, Albon, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Joe, Sargent, Ocon, De Vries, Ollie Caldwell, and Oscar Piastri. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Welcome to a very wet and miserable grid here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Now, as we know, I'm not the best in the wet, and I'm a little bit disappointed with the weather, but this is a strategy. We're just going to start on the wet tyres and possibly go to the end on them. Maybe it might possibly end up going to inters, but I really doubt it. I think we've got a wet weather race. Could be some safety cars. We've took some fuel out of the car as well, so we're pretty happy with that. Let's see how we get on here. It's going to be an incident-packed Spa Grand Prix. So here we go then, a very wet Belgian Grand Prix. Who is going to win this one? Max Verstappen will lead us away, but straight away we're going to ride on board with us on these very wet conditions. And again, we're on the inside line. Now, remember in the sprint race, we had a little bit of wheel spin off the start there. But remember, in the sprint race, we had a little dive down the inside, and we've gone for the same move here. And that move has taken us up from P11 all the way up to P7. That is one of the best first corner dive bombs I've ever done on F1 23. We go side by side through Eau Rouge with Lando Norris, give him a little bit of a squeeze, have a little bit of a squirm at the top, a squeeze and a squirm, and then we're up into a lofty P6. I must admit, I'm getting a bit of a nosebleed now in the cockpit, because we can see in front of us as well Hamilton, Russell and Sainz having a right ding-dong battle here. It's 3 wide through that chicane and into the right-hander. Lewis Hamilton up to P3, but still battling away with his teammate George Russell. This is unbelievable driving from the 2 Mercedes drivers, keeping it nice and clean. You can see us there. We've gone very, very wide out of that corner, managed to get it back on the circuit, but a difficult moment for us there. But what's helping us is Norris is fighting with Leclerc behind as well. So as much as these guys in front are fighting, we have got a nice little niche. I don't expect us to keep P6, it must be said, and we are struggling at the moment to keep this on the road. But as we come towards the middle of lap 1, we're getting a bit more used to it now, it must be said. Getting it a bit cleaner, a bit tidier, as we can see these 3 cars in front of us still battling. Hamilton at the lead of this little train, but Sergio Perez is the man who is leading the Grand Prix. He's overtaking his teammate on the first lap, and he's leading away. It's Perez from Verstappen, Hamilton in P3, Russell P4, Sainz in P5, then comes us in at P6, burning a lot of ERS down this straight. Then comes Norris, Leclerc, Stroll and Fernando Alonso in P10, lap 1. And coming on to lap 2, we've just lost a position to Lando Norris. He's managed to get the overtake on us, but look how close we are, actually giving him a little nudge there through the first corner. Now, we've got to try and get this position back as quickly as we can, because we believe that Lando Norris He is a little bit quicker than us in Sector 3. It must be said, we haven't got the stopping power. Our brakes are not as good as they probably should be, and it's not allowing us to brake at the same point as some of our competitors going into that final corner. It could be a little bit of a setup problem as well. But as you can see, we are gaining. We have a look to the inside. Lando Norris goes very, very wide. It's side by side from us, but we're doing everything we possibly can here. We leave him the space, just enough space, and we are back up into P6. We're pretty happy with that. It's a decent bit of driving from us. It must be said, at the front now, as you can see, we're starting to get used to this a little bit more. Lewis Hamilton is dropping back by a fair bit now, nearly 2 seconds to the 2 Red Bulls. And it must be said, if we have a little look at the back, Ollie Caldwell up into P20. He's not last, ladies and gentlemen. He's not last. On lap 3, we can see Charles Leclerc. That Ferrari is far too quick for us in this Manor Racing team. And unfortunately, he's back past us into the final bus stop chicane. It's great work from Charles Leclerc. He's up into P7. We shall hold him up no longer. Now we have got Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. But we're feeling pretty comfortable at this moment in time because Fernando Alonso is behind his teammate. I believe he's the quicker of the 2 Aston Martin drivers, and Lance Stroll not exactly pulling up any trees at the moment. So as long as Lance Stroll stays as the lead Aston Martin driver, I feel we've got the pace to cover him off. But on lap 4, we're down into P8, but not disheartened at all. Lap 6, and what we were talking about, we thought Fernando Alonso was the quicker driver. He's got past his teammate, and he's now closing up to us at a rate of knots, and that's making us a little bit nervous here. You can see we are keeping pace with Lando Norris at this moment in time, but Fernando Alonso is looking particularly quick as we have a moment there, and this is where we've been strong using his engine power, but Fernando Alonso just burns past us, and it must be said Lance Stroll might even fancy a go here coming up behind. We do stay with Fernando Alonso. We have a little bit of a messy moment there as well, and that has not been a good little spell in this race for us as Fernando Alonso is up into P8. Lance Stroll now in P10. Looks like he's going to be vying for blood, and Pierre Gasly behind as well. So we're down to P9. Little mistake from us. Must be said at the front, Lewis Hamilton now is catching back up to Max Verstappen. He's now 1.1 seconds is the gap between those 2 drivers. George Russell in P4, Sainz P5, Leclerc P6, but Leclerc 6.3 seconds back from his teammate as we approach the midway point of this race. And you join us back on lap 10, and as you can see, we've got a few cars trying the one-stop strategy and putting on a fresh set of wet compound tyres. Pierre Gasly in the Alpine, if you've watched my F1 Manager 23 series, you should definitely go and watch that. Pierre Gasly, one of our drivers, he's now put on a fresh set of wet compound tyres. De Vries, is he going to come out in front of De Vries? Very comfortably, but he'll be hoping to work his way back through on these wet compound tyres. We're still sat in P9, managing the gap to Lance Stroll. As you can see, 1.7 seconds currently the gap in this race. Alonso in P8 now chasing down Lando Norris. These 2 are having a right ding-dong battle, it must be said, and Lando Norris at the moment holding the Spaniard at bay. So very good driving from Lando Norris. It's all very positive today on this YouTube video, so we're all very positive, but we're in P9 and pretty happy with how things are going at this moment in time. Lap 10. Lap 12, we're back with Nico Hülkenberg, who appears to have a serious problem here, Nico Hülkenberg, and it looks like he's going to be the first retirement from this race as Nico Hülkenberg pulls over to the side of the circuit, and that is going to bring out a virtual safety car. As you can see on the screen to the left hand side of you there, we've just seen Ollie Caldwell go past up into P18, but this is not good for us. We're just now bringing our delta down to, 3.3 seconds the gap. We've got to slow down. I think it was around 2 seconds the gap between us and Stroll when the virtual safety car came out. Now we're hoping for a favourable restart here, of course we are. Alonso and Norris still very, very closely matched in front of us. Leclerc doing his best to catch up with Carlos Sainz. He's 3.4 seconds now the gap. Perez and Verstappen look like it's going to be a battle between the 2 Red Bulls for the win, and Lewis Hamilton in P3, but we'll come back when we're back to green flag running. And towards the end of lap 12, we're back to green flag running, but just as we come around that final chicane, we have a little bit of a moment, and Lance Stroll now is 0.6 of a second behind us. The VSC has been exceptionally kind to Lance Stroll, and we're very, very disappointed with that. We've got a big gap between ourselves and Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso now, but it's all going to come down to this. Lance Stroll versus us for the P9. And let's just not write off at the moment Pierre Gasly as well. He's on these fresh tyres. Who knows what he can do towards the end of this Grand Prix, lap 13. And on lap 14, we cannot shake off Lance Stroll at this moment in time. We have another little bit of a moment. This is exactly the type of error that allowed Fernando Alonso in on the time that he overtook us. And now we've got Lance Stroll coming at us like an absolute train on this curve straight. Now, will Lance Stroll, we haven't managed to berate well into this bus stop chicane even all afternoon, and Lance Stroll gets the position back. So it now all comes down to this. We are going to have one racing lap to overtake Lance Stroll to get P9 and get some more points for our Manor Racing team here at Belgium. As you can see, we had a little look to the inside there and it couldn't make the move stick, and now we're going to follow him. Our best overtaking opportunity, I believe, is the Kemmel Straight. Once we get past Eau Rouge, using that energy, as you can see, we're gaining at this moment in time, but we don't want to be going side through here. There's a little bit of contact there between ourselves and Lance Stroll. He brakes. We didn't need to. We've not needed to brake there all afternoon, and now here we are down the Kemmel Straight, using all the ERS we've got left in the tank to make this move stick. We brake nice and early there, getting the inside line, covering it off. And Lance Stroll, it's side by side, but he doesn't seem to have the same traction that we have at times. He's better on the brakes, but he hasn't got the traction. And now we're in P9. And look who's joined the party. Pierre Gasly in P11. Will he manage to make a move here and score a point as well? It's done and dusted at the front. We'll just have a little check back to that. Sergio Perez is leading away from Verstappen. Verstappen's not going to make up 7/10 of a second. And Hamilton isn't going to make up a second either. The top three are done and dusted. Carlos Sainz will still fancy having a look at George Russell, but it's all on us here as we coming round into the final sector. We can see Alonso and Norris in front of us really going at it as well. There's been some great racing this weekend here in Spa-Francorchamps, and now it's all about this. We were going to ride on board, I believe, with Lance Stroll as he looks at us for this final couple of corners and this big long straight. Now, do we make a mistake out of here? We certainly don't. This time we've managed to get on the power and we're looking to defend effectively. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly, the one who's further back, is looking at Lance Stroll. We have gone to the inside line here. We've had to lift off through there. We're thinking, should we go to the left? Shall we go to the right? We go to the right. We try to defend it and just park the car. That's all we're trying to do here. Lance Stroll goes to the inside, can't get the move done, and we are going to come across the line in the wet conditions in Spa and get P9 for Manor Racing. We're very, very chuffed with that. Let's get to the podium scene.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
And there we have it then. Checo Perez winning the Belgian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen in second. Lewis Hamilton just won't go away at this moment in time. He's keeping in touch with the two Red Bull drivers in the standings and keeping Mercedes in the fight for the Drivers' Championship. Great work from them. Let's have a now look at the full classification. And as we saw, Checo Perez is the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen second, Hamilton third as we saw. Russell P4, Sainz P5, Leclerc gaining a couple of positions up to P6. Lando Norris P7. We saw a bit of him, as we did Fernando Alonso in P8. We finish a very respectable P9. Lance Stroll P10 after that final lap battle, which we all particularly enjoyed. I can't say I did in the cockpit, but we did okay. Gasly P11. He went for the two-stop strategy, which was a little bit different. As we cycle down, we see Ollie Caldwell in P20. It's an improvement, and he gained one position, did Ollie Caldwell. If we have a look at the Drivers' Championship standings, Max Verstappen is 35 points in front of Checo Perez. Lewis Hamilton in P3 on 169 points, so still very much in the fight. We are in P11, only 4 points behind Esteban Ocon. On the constructors standings, Red Bull do extend their lead. It's now up to 84 points over Mercedes. Ferrari in P3. We stay in P7, 2 points above Williams Racing. I hope you've enjoyed that one. Changeable conditions, another sprint weekend done, and I'm pretty happy in which way this car and team are going. Maybe we just need a bit of help from our second driver. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Ta-ra!